Presumption of the Egyptians commercialized that incomparable art. I was holding forth along these lines one day, when Agamemnon came up to us and scanned, with a curious eye, a person to whom the audience was listening so closely. He would not permit me to declaim longer in the portico than he himself had sweat in the school, but exclaimed, "Your sentiments do not reflect the public taste, young man, and you are a lover of common sense, which is still more unusual. For that reason, I will not deceive you as to the secrets of my profession. The teachers, who must gibber with lunatics, are by no means to blame for these exercises. Unless they spoke in accordance with the dictates of their young pupils, they would, as Cicero remarks, be left alone in the schools. And, as designing parasites, when they seek invitations to the tables of the rich, have in mind nothing except what will, in their opinion, be most acceptable to their audience, for in no other way can they secure their ends, save by setting snares for the ears, so it is with the teachers of rhetoric. They might be compared with the fisherman, who, unless he baits his hook with what he knows is most appetizing to the little fish, may wait all day upon some rock without the hope of a catch. What, then, is there to do? The parents, who are unwilling to permit their children to undergo a course of training under strict discipline, are the ones who deserve the reproof. In the first place, everything they possess, including the children, is devoted to ambition. Then, that their wishes may the more quickly be realized, they drive these unripe scholars into the forum, and the profession of eloquence, than which none is considered nobler, devolves upon boys who are still in the act of being born. If, however, they would permit a graded course of study to be prescribed, in order that studious boys might ripen their minds by diligent reading, balance their judgment by precepts of wisdom, correct their compositions with an unsparing pen, hear at length what they ought to imitate, and be convinced that nothing can be sublime when it is designed to catch the fancy of boys, then the grand style of oratory would immediately recover the weight and splendour of its majesty. Now the boys play in the schools, the young men are laughed at in the forum, and, a worse symptom than either, no one in his old age will confess the errors he was taught in his school days. But that you may not imagine that I disapprove of a jingle in the Lucilian manner, I will deliver my opinions in verse. The man who emerges with fame from the school of stern art, whose mind gropes for lofty ideals to bring them to light, must first, under rigid frugality, study his part, nor yearn for the courts of proud princes who frown in their might, nor scheme with the riffraff a client in order to dine, nor can he with evil companions his wit drown in wine, nor sit as a hireling applauding an actor's grimace. But whether the fortress of arms-bearing Tritonis smile upon him, or land which the Spartan colonials grace, or home of the Sirens, with poetry let him beguile the years of young manhood, and at the Maeonian spring his fortunate soul drink its fill. Then, when later the law of Socrates' school he has mastered, the reins let him fling, and brandish the weapons that mighty Demosthenes bore. Then, steeped in the culture and music of Greece, let his taste be ripened and mellowed by all the great writers of Rome. At first, let him haunt not the courts. Let his pages be graced by ringing and rhythmic effusions composed in his home. Next, banquets and wars be his theme, sung in soul-stirring chant, in eloquent words such as undaunted Cicero chose. Come! Gird up thy soul. Inspiration will then force a vent and rush in a flood from a heart that is loved by the muse. I was listening so attentively to this speech that I did not notice the flight of Ascyltos, and while I was pacing the gardens, engulfed in this flood-tide of rhetoric, a large crowd of students came out upon the portico, having, it would seem, just listened to an extemporaneous declamation of I know not whom, the speaker of which had taken exceptions to the speech of Agamemnon. While, therefore, the young men were making fun of the sentiments of this last speaker and criticizing the arrangement of the whole